Welcome to Millennium Counseling Center's podcast, where each week we go in depth into all things mental health, addiction recovery, and being our healthiest and happiest self. Enjoy. This week's episode will be hosted by one of the many incredible therapists here at the Millennium Counseling Center. Please enjoy.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Dating in Your 20s series. It's Amelia and Lilly. And I think first we're just going to do like a check-in. How are you?
It's February 12th when we're recording this.
Yeah.
There's a huge snowstorm on its way, or supposedly. We don't really know. I know we've talked about this personally, professionally, in our group meetings, in our team meetings, and with clients. Seasonal depression is real.
Yeah.
I was struggling like the last 2 weeks, to be honest, motivation-wise, whether that be to like get up and go into the office or work out or stay involved with plans that I have in place. And I don't know, I've been bringing that into my clients a lot. I've just been like, okay, I'm kind of feeling it too.
Yeah.
Like, how are you? But yeah, that's sort of where I'm at. But I feel like I'm turning the corner.
Okay.
You were even texting me the other day. You were like, February, it's a short month. And I don't like to rush through things, but like it is kind of a short month, which is great. March, some friends visiting for St. Patrick's Day.
So fun.
Chicago St. Patrick's Day is always just great energy.
Yeah.
Then, I mean, we don't know really when spring's actually going to hit, but like, I don't know,
It's
March,
coming.
April, May,
Yeah.
June.
Probably.
That's where I'm at. And then, yeah, I'm excited. I'm heading out to get some sunshine this weekend.
Oh, good.
Visit my family, which will be great. Sort of last minute, but sometimes you just got to listen to that little
That
last
nudge.
minute voice.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I first, the snowstorm, I literally texted like all of my friends yesterday and I was like, okay, what is a snowstorm? Like, what is a winter storm warning?
Advisory,
Because it keeps popping up on my phone. Like, what is that? And they're like, it's basically not real. And I was like, okay, so how the South treats tornadoes. Like, it's just like, you're going to be fine. But yeah, I don't know. These last few, like maybe 6 weeks have just been so brutal. I don't know if it's because January felt like it was 8 years long.
Literally.
And on top of that, like we're coming into, we're starting I don't know if you're feeling this similarly, but like as spring approaches, it is engagement and wedding season. I literally just got back Monday from a weekend wedding, one of my like college roommates, which was so fun. I literally had so much fun seeing everybody. But I just feel like there's this huge disconnect. It feels like I'm in like the Hannah Montana, like best of both worlds, like two separate lives. Because when I'm in Chicago, like none of my friends are really talking about marriage. Like even my friends in their 30s. Like it's just like, okay, like still kind of figuring
Total
things
different
out.
world.
And then I got down to the wedding and I think I was one of the only single people there. And it's like everyone does that look of like, your time will come. Like it'll be you next. Or like, are you going to catch the bouquet? Like, yeah.
Cringing.
I know.
I wish you could see me, but I'm like,
And I love my friends and I'm so happy for them and they're so happy and I love celebrating them. So it's like a weird melancholy feeling when you're like standing up as a bridesmaid or like sitting in the pews, like experiencing the wedding and also having like, I texted you and I was like, my heart literally like hurt where it was like, I'm so happy and I hate also feeling sad on one of my best friend's happiest days. Like it's just like a weird feeling.
But this is maybe a little personal, and if you want to share or don't want to share, whatever, but was it like, oh, I want this to be me? Because I don't really know if that's what I get when, like, I know you, we're friends. We've been friends now for like a year and a half.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what I get, or it's just like general, like, I don't know. I go to weddings and I can be like in a great, amazing, happy relationship, or I can be totally single and I'm like, I'm crying. It's just like an emotional
it's just
thing.
so emotional. Yeah.
But I don't know. Where do you think that's like coming from?
I think a lot of it's comparison culture. I've been off Instagram for the last 3 months.
Yeah.
And that has been so amazing for me. And I think it's because like growing up in the South, I've really hit the peak now where like my friends are starting to have babies.
Yeah.
Like I'm already feel like I'm a stage, which I hate even thinking that, but like a stage behind in things. And so it's like, okay, I got to catch up. And so I've kind of had a break from that, not being on social media, not seeing that as much.
Boundaries,
love it. And so I think seeing it in person was such a like, oh God, like it just,
jolt.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Literally slapped me in the face. And I think I was like, okay, I have not like I've been dating and I've been having fun. And I think we've had so much fun doing this podcast because it's like we're like today we're talking about like the talking stage, like the beginning of a relationship. So then going to a place where everyone's like carrying around babies.
And like crossed the finish line or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yes. I don't even know if it was necessarily I want this. It was like why do I feel so behind when I'm in these like situations?
I mean, the thing that's standing out for me is just like the location and just like the culture and that stuff. Because like I do not feel that way. I'm born and raised in Chicago.
Yeah.
Do not feel that way.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
I have one high school friend getting married and they've been dating since freshman year. And that's like the one person that I know who's getting married.
Yeah.
Freshman year of high school, that is. Not even college. And then for my friends, a lot of my friends from college that live off in New York, like New York, the timeline's even more delayed than Chicago, I feel like. Again, theme of this whole podcast, maybe we should make it a tagline, but like it's all just going to look different.
Yes.
There's no right way.
Yes.
But then again, when you're surrounded by a way that seems to be the right way, it's hard for that feeling of questioning or doubt or feeling behind to like seep in.
Yeah. And then it's like guilt. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to be celebrating. Like we're supposed to just be happy-go-lucky. Like everyone's enjoying this. And then I like vividly, a slow song came on because they had a band and the band was amazing. Like so much fun. And a slow song came on and I was by the bride and her now husband. And then one of my other college roommates who's engaged. And then my third college roommate who was with her husband. And they all kind of like split off. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go get a drink. Like,
yeah. No. I mean, that's like the visual description of like what you kind of are talking about.
Yeah.
But I do know as someone who loves you that we always do talk about the both and, but like there's no like you, I think, and compliment hour. I think you're very good at like being able to like hold your own thoughts, feelings, emotions about it. And you also are allowed to validate those moments and also genuinely be there and celebrate the other person. Like, I feel like we also do a good job of that in our friendship. Like, some days we might be like, yay, awesome, amazing, lifting the music, like skipping into the office, where other days the other person's like, whew, dragging their feet, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes we are on those different kind of pages at the same time, and other times it's completely different. But I think you did a good job of kind of being able to balance the both.
Thank you. I feel like that's also part of our job, but also like, and the reason we're kind of doing a general check-in today too, and we haven't started a podcast like this yet, is because it's like, the winter months are hard. Seasonal depression is real. It's like so heavy. My vitamin D gummies have been helping us much. Like they're the strongest soldiers.
Yep.
But also like for anyone who's also feeling this way and maybe can't name it or can't identify why they feel this way, like it's okay to take an inventory day of yourself. Like
totally.
Figure out what's
Gather
going
information.
on. Yes. Like we are our own best investigators of what's going on in our bodies and our minds. And I think like on the way back, I had like a huge layover in Baltimore and I was able to just like take a minute and be like, okay, like this is how I feel. And I was journaling about it and I was making sure I was communicating with like my support systems and like my friends. And that was so good for me to be like, okay, like I know how I feel instead of just like coming back to Chicago and being like, ugh, why do I feel so blah? And yeah, even you saying like, oh God, the winter months were hard and like you needed a break and you were like, okay, I felt that nudge to go see family. Like we sometimes just have to listen to what our bodies and our minds need. And like, I think we just want to encourage listeners, especially in the world of the dating context, like take inventory and figure out how you're feeling.
Check in and breathe and slow down. With all of that being said, I think sometimes the most difficult thing for me, and I'm seeing with some of my clients, they're at the point where they're like, I'm recognizing that I'm not feeling great, or I've kind of like dipped below baseline. And I'm like, okay, this makes sense. It's January. This is happening. Whatever. Maybe you're in your cycle, like all of these different things, you know? And I'm like, I'm kind of feeling that too. But then it's this automatic need for an answer. It's like, why? Why am I feeling this way? And sometimes seasonal depression or it being cold or snowy is not enough. And again, talking about being our own investigators, I love that. But I think also sometimes it's like, sometimes you're just going to be digging. And you aren't going to be able to be like, oh, I found it. This is the problem. And now I'm going to be able to find fix it and find the solution. So I think a lot of the times, and honestly, if we're going all like DSM and depression, it's feeling sad and literally not knowing why. And I think oftentimes it's like, I'm feeling depressed. What's going on? How can I get out of this? And sometimes it's just like, no, that's like the toll that it has on you. Sometimes it's really hard to know why and it's hard to get out of it. So just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah. All right.
So what are we talking about today?
The talking stage, which I think we're kind of trying to be like kitschy and funny with, which is really like the texting stage in this day and age with dating. So like, what would you say in your relationships has been the talking stage? Like, what does that look like?
Oh my gosh. I think, sure, you can say that it like looks different with each relationship. I think there's this whole thing about like, if it's on dating apps, do you talk a bunch before you meet up in person?
Yeah.
Or to like really suss out the vibe? Or I have a roommate who literally will like plan the date and only plan the date and then will not respond until
That's so smart.
Until they are on the date.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to ask what he does for work. I don't want him to ask where he
She wants out on the date.
grew up or what his favorite food is. Like, I'm not going to have things to talk about on the date. But I don't know if that's necessarily the talking stage. I feel like that's like, I don't know, the talking stage kind of comes
That's
after
like the preamble.
Yeah, that's the preamble. But okay, so I don't know if I think that's the talking stage. The talking stage, I think, is like, I don't know, let's reinvent the talking stage to just be like the
Getting to know you
stage, which I guess that's sort of what it is.
Yeah. I remember like coming home in high school and being like, oh yeah, I'm talking to this guy. And my parents would be like, what does that mean? Like you're saying hello to him in the hallway. Like what is the talking stage? And I was like,
yeah,
it's just not like he's my boyfriend.
I think talking stage, I think in high school and probably in college, I was like, okay, we're not dating. We're not official. We're not exclusive. We're not seeing other people, or we are still seeing other people. So we're just talking.
Yeah.
Now, being post-grad, I think that I've kind of removed the talking phase with I'm dating him.
Yes.
Or dating them.
Going on dates.
Or dating that person. Or going on dates.
Yeah.
Or I'm dating people right now. So I think in the past, I was like, oh, if I'm dating, that means one person and only one person, which we can literally deconstruct that a million different ways, that it doesn't necessarily need to look that way. But now, when my mom's like, how's everything going? I'm like, I'm dating. I'm going on multiple dates with multiple different people.
Yes.
Whereas before, I was like, I'm dating. I have a boyfriend.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it means. But no, I don't know. I think I'm rambling. But I think now, I don't know. I think we should reframe it as dating.
Yeah. No, I literally, plane landed in Birmingham at like 6:30. By 7:02, I think I had been asked twice, like, are you dating anyone? Whether by family or friends or whatever. And I was like, I'm not dating. Here's how I framed it. I said, I'm not dating anyone exclusively, but like, I'm going on dates. And like, if you could see me right now, I'm like lifting a shoulder, like, nonchalant, like, no, I'm going on dates.
But it's so funny, like, what the semantics of like dating versus going on dates.
Yes. And I think that because of like middle school, high school, and even college, like we kind of have this like talking, like we're like, oh, we're talking. And I think it's whether
being
it's
elusive.
Like, yeah. Or like maybe not wanting, whether we know it or not wanting to commit fully.
Totally.
And like dating feels like such a strong word. And I think that's why we're trying to be like, it's actually the digital aspect that causes a lot of the anxiety within this talking stage. Because you don't fully know this person yet and you haven't really gathered like what their communication style is. And so whether or not you're seeing them every day in person, you're communicating on some format, whether that's a dating app or texting or calling. And
or Snapchat. Some of my clients are still in the weeds in Snapchat.
Yes. As like a communication style. And so it's like, okay, we're talking. And I think that's why we've gathered that word. But really, we're just like communicating and we're trying to figure each other out. And it can be like, I know for me personally, I hate it.
Yeah.
Like I absolutely hate this stage. And I think it's because like looking like right at the cognitive dissonance, like our brain automatically from a psychology standpoint, like craves clarity. We want this or that. We want black and white. We want a definitive answer to things. And this stage within relationships is so ambiguous. Like there is no right or wrong. There is no correct path. There is no you're supposed to do this. There is no he's automatically going to respond to this when you say this. Like, and we've tried to figure it out. And that's also where we like start to compare. Like, okay, I'm talking to this person and also this person and this person. Like, text me better. So I'm going to go on a date with this person, not this person. Like, we just get so in our heads about it.
Yeah. No, completely. I think, but to that, I think, yeah, we're in our heads about it, but I don't know. Advice that I heard on a podcast that like to just like go on multiple dates with multiple different people.
Yeah.
To not put or bring in some Love Island lingo, put all your eggs in one basket. But like, I don't know. I think that's helped because then you're not like fantasizing or fairy telling or I don't know, just like building this life with this person that you barely know in your head because you've been going on dates with them. I think it's nice to, I don't know, I think there's also a pro of talking to like a few people in the dating stage and getting to know people or that kind of thing. Sometimes there can be pros to like sprinkling a few in there, you know?
Yeah. No, and I think that's also like so contextual. Like, it's so hard for me. And I also don't know if I've, again, grown up where like all my friends are married and having babies. But like, I feel like if I'm going on a date with someone, like I'm supposed to date intentionally.
Oh, totally. I mean, it's been I heard that advice and it did not sit with me well for a long time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, wait, I'm allowed to go on dates with multiple guys? Like, that's a thing that is within my reach. Like, I can do that. And I'm like, oh, no, you can't. Like, that makes you, quote, a bad girl. And it's like, no, actually, that just like allows you to figure out what you want. And like, that's where that reframing piece really has to happen for me.
No, totally. I don't know. It's a lot. I think the other thing that I want to point to is that like this idea of commitment too, and certain words or phrases and like where they align on that commitment scale too is interesting because it's like talking, dating, or probably getting to know each other. Yeah. Talking, dating, like for sure not seeing other people. And then like exclusively dating. And then I think there's another thing where it's like, you're my boyfriend or my girlfriend or my partner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. In my mind, that's like the top of the totem pole. I don't know. Yeah. But I think it's just so interesting. I mean, the other thing is that like, that's just my point of view.
I know. Yeah.
And then you bring in someone else's point of view.
Yeah.
And if you're talking about something and you don't really know what they mean by when using those phrases, talk about a communication like mishap.
Oh my God, I know. I know. I always think about my roommates and I like loved watching Sex and the City. And whenever I think about like this specific instance, I think about when Carrie and like all her friends went to a dinner. And at the dinner, she's saying like, oh, me and Mr. Big are exclusive. Like, we're having so much fun going on dates, blah, blah, blah. And he's there at that restaurant with another woman. And he's like, I didn't know we were exclusive. And like, you go back and watch the episode and you're like, okay, wait, they actually never communicated that they were. So like, neither of them were in the right or the wrong. It's just like they had their own individual ideas of what they were doing. Which like, I'm a Mr. Big hater. So like that is that. But like, yeah, I don't know. I think that's also where the digital age becomes.
I was just about to say that because I think when talking to my parents or like people older than us, you were okay with that gray area. Yeah. Almost. Yeah. Like, I don't know, you had to call people on their landline.
My parents wrote letters back and forth because my dad was in the Navy.
Yeah, like that too.
That was the only way they communicated.
Or like when my mom would call my dad's house, his sisters would answer the landline and like would like cut the line because they were like, like she's not calling or like stuff like that. You know? But there's always another way to see what this person is doing. Look them up. Is there a little green bubble? Have they been typing? All of these things. Like,
oh my gosh. Yes. And too, like we think about what we said in, I think, our second episode when we were talking about, okay, we thrive on instant gratification because that's just like the digital age we live in. And so when thinking about like the role of virtual communication and text anxiety, I mean, like this could be its own podcast series. Like it is so infiltrated within the way that we go about the dating world. I'll even 100%. Say, okay, wait, I'll share this story. So the other week I had matched with this guy on Hinge and I was talking to him on Hinge. And this is so embarrassing, but honestly kind of funny because I feel like other women have done this too. And I texted
they definitely
Lily,
have.
And I was like, how do you phrase it when you're like, okay, here's my number? Because he hasn't asked for my number, but I'm also like so tired of messaging on this app that There's
also this rule that like it's not real until it's off the app.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So like that's something that was infiltrating your behaviors at that moment too.
Yes. And so I was like, okay, how do you do this? And she was like, usually I just say like, I don't check the app. Here's my number.
No, that's literally what I do.
And so I was like, okay, fine, I'll do that. And so I said like, okay, yeah, I'm never on this app. Haha. Here's my number. And like maybe 12 hours goes by and I was like, okay, like I haven't heard from him. I probably put my number in wrong. Like I probably typed my number wrong into the chat. The same number that I've had since 7th grade when I first got a phone. And I was like, but I did it wrong. Like I automatically wanted to put blame on myself and I was like, okay, wait, he just didn't text me. Like that's fine. But it's like we try to search for answers where it's like, oh, this is why this is happening. Like I just typed my number wrong. Not true. Not at all.
But like, I don't know. That's a protective mechanism,
Yeah.
right? Because you're afraid of the potential, whatever the consequences is of not having that person text you. But I also think on the flip end of it too, it's like, okay, yes, I could have put my number in wrong, or it could have been like, I don't know. And maybe this is a bad way of thinking, but like there's a million things that could have happened.
Yeah.
One of them is maybe like, he wasn't ready to get off the app and he wasn't serious about it and he was using you as a pen pal. Let's be honest.
True.
Like, that's totally a possibility. The other possibility is maybe like work has been super busy and he like actually hasn't been on his phone. I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's helpful to think of all. Sometimes I think it can be harmful because you can kind of be in this la la land. Like, oh, like, I don't know, like maybe their phone broke.
That's why I get rooted in the like, he's just not that into you.
Yeah. Or the other portion of it is just like, sometimes if you zoom out and it's less so, let me come up with these like interesting stories and reasons and whatever. It's less so getting all wrapped in that. And it's more so, wow, there's so many other things that could be going on right now. And it's not the behavior matching exactly with what you think.
Yes. And I also think, you know, we see so many people, we've put labels on it. And I specifically speak to women when I say this, like we've been told that we can't respond immediately. We've been told we can't be too eager, but we also can't wait a day to respond because then we're too distant. We've been told that we need to have the expectation of playing it cool because that's attractive. Like we can't be the girl who's obsessive or like wanting it all, or like if you even show a sliver of more interest in him or double text him or do any of these like unsaid, unspoken rules, then like you are like crazy. And I hate that. And we've already done the episode of like having these names attached
placed
to
on
us.
Yeah.
But I think that like text anxiety and like the over analysis that we tend to put into how we're responding to someone in a way that can be perceived in like many different ways.
Well, like sometimes we're assigning meaning to things that like don't necessarily have meaning or need to have meaning, whether that be like response times, punctuation, emojis being there versus emojis not being there, or like, I don't know, in high school it was like red heart versus like pink heart, like what are the differences, like all that kind of stuff, like, you know what I mean? Or like keeping a streak on Snapchat. Like some of my younger clients are like, well, they broke our streak, like that means talking stage over. I don't know,
his Snap score went up, but he hasn't Snapchatted me, so he has to be like Snapchatting another girl. And I'm like, okay, let's take a breath.
Exactly. So I think like, I don't know, or like a simple hey. It's like, hey, we need to talk. Or
oh my
like,
God, yeah.
Hey, do you want to hang out? Like, I don't know. Like,
we have found ways to read into just about every way that someone can communicate with us in the digital age. And like, I want to say this, I think texting can be helpful. It is a method of communication that we are just unfortunately never going to escape. Like we are in this digital age now. But I also want to acknowledge, like, it doesn't have to mean true emotional connection. The illusion that a really deep conversation means that they're in love with you, or the illusion that, oh, well, he's just so busy at work. Like, he's just never going to respond to me. Like, if that's not what or how you need to be communicated with, like, you're allowed to say that.
Yeah. And then the other piece of that, too, is like balancing this mixed match of energy between like texting and then what it's like in person, or I don't know, all those different things are like, oh yeah, no, like the conversation's great when we text, but when we're in person, it's like kind of awkward, or the other way around. And like, that's a real life thing as well. And I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. IRL and like asynchronous is cracking me up. But yeah, it can affect most emotional connection. It can be a detriment, but it could also be a benefit and could be an advantage, you know? Like, I don't know. You can spice up your day with some cute, flirty texting, which is like also potentially going to like help your emotional connection or physical connection or whatever it may be. Like, I think there, again, it's a both and. Like, I don't want to, that's right now, we're definitely talking about more of the negative aspects of it, but I think there's a way that it can also enable a relationship to kind of foster a deeper connection and grow as well.
Yes. I also want to acknowledge too, like, you don't have to change your texting style or your communication style to fit the needs of another person. Like, I think that that's where we talked about this with our clients too, like expressing your communication and like expressing your needs and expressing what's best for you is really important, whether that's early on or whenever you feel comfortable. But like, I know myself, like, I'm going to send a voice memo or I'm going to call someone or I'm going to like FaceTime them. And like, that's how I'm going to communicate. And when I feel comfortable enough in a dating situation to do that with someone, I'm going to do that. I'm not going to become a huge texter. I'm not a huge texter. Like, that's just not the way I communicate.
Okay, wait. What I think a piece that you're trying to touch on is something that we've talked about, I think, in an episode or two ago when we were talking about boundaries. And sometimes it's like in expressing what you need and potentially by expressing what you need, that's maybe offering, hey, could you maybe put a little more effort in here or maybe a little less effort in here? Or this is a thing that like makes me feel desired and wanted, or this is a way that you can show me that you care about me or that you're wanting to learn more about me and all of those things. Like, that doesn't necessarily mean a boundary means that I'm trying to be disconnected from you.
Yes.
It means a boundary means that I care. And in order to make this work, here are a few things that I think could facilitate and foster a better connection. And that's not because, hey, I don't want to be speaking to you anymore. It's, hey, I do want to be speaking to you. And it's just going to look like, I don't know, this is a way that it could look a little bit better. I don't know if that's what you were trying to sort of hit on, but like, it's okay. We're going to leave ghosting to a whole different episode. I think. We'll do that.
I think, you know, we've said this. We try to search for answers. I mean, we said at the beginning, like sometimes taking inventory of ourselves means that we're digging and digging and digging and looking for the reason why behind it. And I think in the beginning of a relationship, it's so ambiguous and so confusing that, again, we're like, either trying to adapt and change for the other person, or we're trying to like figure out and find answers. And like, I think it's really important for you to ask yourself, like, do I want this? Am I happy? Like, is this stage something that's causing more anxiety for me? Or is it something that like, I just wish I could move past really quickly so I could get to the next stair step?
Totally. And I think the overarching thing with that is that when you're getting to know someone, whether it be in person, whether it be texting, whether you are dating or exclusively dating or whatever it is, you're putting yourself in a vulnerable position. And when you put yourself in a vulnerable position, there's a chance that you're going to get hurt. And a lot of us have been hurt. And have had to go through the breakups or getting over the situationship. And it's like, why the situationship's harder than the actual dating? I don't know, all of this stuff. But I think to kind of close it up is that like, you're valid in wanting to protect yourself, being afraid that maybe if you express your needs, this means that it's going to end, or maybe that if your communication styles can't really get on the same page, like, I don't know, there's a part of you that's afraid that things are going to end or things are going to be pulled out from under you or whatever it may be. And I think texting can sometimes kind of fuel that fire. And I think it's just because you're putting yourself out there. And that's scary. No matter what.
And like, I think this beginning stages is when like a lot of change in your own life is happening, because you're like having to, you know, figure out if you're going on a real date. You have to figure out like what you're doing. There's automatic change that's happening in your life, especially if you're not a frequent dater, if you're trying to figure out what your dating style or life is supposed to look like. And like, humans don't adapt to change well. So I think the moral of the story is like, within this stage especially, is to give yourself grace and to allow yourself to like, as much as you can, have fun figuring it out. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to have it all figured out. And yeah, this stage is similar for a lot of people. And so I think if you need to communicate that anxiety, do as you can.
No, I agree. And I think overarching theme in closing up a lot of these episodes is just going to be like, be kinder to yourself. And I hope that this podcast, weekly, bi-weekly, however we're going to be getting it out, is a way where you can kind of just check in with yourself and then also just have that little reminder, because it's really hard to remind yourself sometimes.
So we'll remind you.
Perfect. All right,
everyone, have a great week.